Okay, let's talk about another subject that we talked about several interviews ago, fantasy sports. It's become a national topic of conversation and of action. We talked about how big the money numbers were around this and how many people around the country are participating in fantasy sports. And I think I read just recently that the state of New York shut it down effectively. Something's happening in Florida, right? There's legislation moving about fantasy sports.
Well, the issue is that whether these daily fantasy online sports leagues or companies are participating in illegal gambling. I mean, that's the bottom line issue. New York Attorney General said this week he views it an investigation, that his office has done an investigation, and they consider it illegal gambling, and they're shutting it down in New York. But on the same day that the New York Attorney General did that, two Florida legislators, Matt Gaetz, who we referred to, who's also involved in the medical marijuana issue, and Joe Negron, who's the next Senate president in Florida, announced that they were filing legislation that would keep these fantasy sports games legal in Florida, but that they would add regulations to it. So they made very clear in their statement that they think that the game should remain legal, and that they're talking about regulations like requiring the companies to register with the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, also preventing these online companies from having their employees take part in these games. There's been allegations essentially of sort of insider operations, if you will, at these online games. So there would be some restrictions put on that. But it looks like these two legislators are going to push to keep it legal in Florida, to add the regulations. You know, as I indicated, Joe Negron is now the incoming Senate president. He's got some juice. And so, you know, he may be able to move that through the Senate. And Matt Gaetz is, you know, he's in the leadership, he's a committee chairman in the House. So he's got some ability to move bills.
Sometimes, you know, legislation like this appears as an effort to stop a move to outright ban an activity. Is there any talk that you've heard by anyone in the legislature or otherwise about banning sports, fantasy sports gambling in Florida, if it is gambling as such?
This emerged a month or so ago when one of our reporters talked to Andy Gardner, the current Senate president, who is very much an opponent of gambling, and he was raising concerns about these fantasy sports operations, and saying he wanted his attorneys to look into the legality and some of those issues. I think it's a little bit early to know what the reaction is going to be to the Negron-Gaetz proposal, but I think history has shown that sometimes industries are open to regulation if it helps protect their operations and the ongoing their ongoing businesses. It helps protect them in some ways. And I think if the legislature were to affirmatively say that these games are not gambling, or that they are legal, that would probably help the industry in Florida, which is a big market.
Thank you, Jim. For more news about Florida politics and government, visit the Advances section of our website.